Hey shippers, it's time to talk about Yuri on Ice. Firstly, shout out to all of you lovely viewers out there who recommended this to me. It was such a fun watch. I am now the pork cutlet bowl with the most sex appeal. Not really though, that's still Yuri. For those who partook in this anime, many came away with a deep love for this pairing, known as Victuuri, that being between protagonist Yuri Katsuki and Viktor Nikiforov. Forgive my Canadian accent. So let's jump in and see not only what's going on with this ship, but with this anime in general. Yuri on Ice exploded into mainstream popularity for those who enjoy anime, newcomers who happen to fall upon such trends, and some who had fallen off the anime bandwagon and were looking to get back on. But why? Yuri on Ice is the tale of Yuri Katsuki and many other figure skaters. Indeed, he is not even the only Yuri. However, from the start, it manages to set up a tone that many would find relatable, with an emotionally open protagonist struggling to find the confidence to express the talents that are inside. It is lovingly animated and happens to be choreographed by retired ice dancer Kenji Miyamoto, and takes the time to slow down and assume you know absolutely nothing about figure skating. It does this in order to explain the basics, such as the sporting season and scoring, which allows the viewer to participate more actively by being able to get engaged in the competition sequences on more than just an emotional level. It's also for the most part riding a very lighthearted and positive tone, making it feel very fun and light despite the fact that it may also be tackling some complex issues. As a result, it's an easy watch with humorous moments that if you let it will suck you right in before you even know what happened. The characters may appear archetypical on the surface, but are quickly elaborated upon to reveal hidden depths, but at the same time they still appear familiar as they do play into standard tropes. It's what few animes are these days, which is a good jumping on point, especially for those who are a bit intimidated by genre stuff. No surprise supernatural elements here. The world of anime can be daunting. It's so large with different genres, tropes, and entirely different fandoms and standards in some cases. But Yuri on Ice could be a good start for someone looking to get into anime, especially as sports animes follow a formula most are familiar with, which can provide a feeling of comfort regardless of the sport. Gotta win that thing, gotta be the best, gotta get that trophy. On top of that, figure skating has an aesthetic element and flair that lends itself beautifully to animation. Of course, that's not a guarantee you'll love it. Not a sports drama fan? Not feeling rom-coms? Looking for something dark and gritty? Then yeah, it's probably not for you. But if you've seen stuff around and you've been curious, give in to your curiosity. It's a fun 12 episodes. Part of the enjoyment is delivered by the central relationship of Victuuri, which is much more than a ship that sails itself. Instead, it is the focal point and foundation of the anime's action. The show serves as a vehicle not just for figure skating, but for this relationship. So let's meet the players. Yuri Katsuki, a Japanese figure skater getting up there in age who has had a lackluster career thus far. Innately talented, he often underperforms, overwhelmed by his own fears of inadequacy, failure, but paradoxically also success. He struggles to find confidence in himself and his decisions, a confidence he finds when his dreams are surpassed and he receives a new coach in the form of his idol, mentor, and former competitor, that being Viktor Nikiforov, who is in turn a skater of unparalleled success. Poised, confident, with the world at his feet, he too is looking for meaning and a new focus, as one wonders where can you go from the top that isn't simply down. He is enthusiastic, encouraging, and disturbingly forgetful. From the start, the two's interactions are charged with sensual undertones that are explicitly highlighted by the show itself through the art as well as the writing, to the point where this is one of those ships where it appears the pairing is actually canonical, though in this case it seems to be couched behind a veil of extremely strong, near overt, though that would seem to be an oxymoron, subtext. This subtext is so strong the show has actually been praised by critics for its positive depiction of a homosexual relationship. The characters seem to share a kiss, blocked from the audience's view, but everyone reacts as if it was, in the show itself, as well as the viewers. They talk endlessly of the love between them and label that as Yuri's motivation for his skating and his success, and go so far as to exchange rings on the steps of a church, following which other characters congratulate them on their marriage. From a character standpoint, the two do seem to bring out the best in each other. Yuri finds confidence in his own choices and decisions through having Victor's belief in his abilities as a foundation for his comeback. He's able to identify his goals and work towards them, while Victor is able to see the beauty in helping others attain their dreams and the unselfish good feeling that comes from such interaction, which at the same time in no way detracts from or takes away from his own fire. In fact, it only adds to it. The two could be seen to function as an ideal relationship, with both partners supporting each other's goals and dreams while still setting the best interests of both as a priority. This isn't one person giving up their dreams for another. It's instead about sharing dreams, going so far as to say that achieving one's dreams is more satisfying if it is done with others, particularly someone you love and support who does the same for you. It's a nice sentiment that isn't often depicted, frequently brushed aside for aggressive independence, as many fear such aforementioned sentiments herald codependence. Yuri on Ice is a well-executed example of the fact that that does not have to be the case. Although, don't think there are no other ships. Of course not. And not everybody is on board with Victuuri. Some side-eye falling for and being with your mentor and childhood idol. It creates for some the potential for a skewed power dynamic. Also, some question Victuuri's dedication given his tendency towards frivolity and extreme forgetfulness. Though there's little textually to fuel this can of course be extrapolated. And perhaps, as always, you're just not feeling it. While there are many positive things to say about this pairing and its near textual depiction, there is of course an opposing view. Several actually, though they may not be what you were expecting. In some circles, the show is accused of not going far enough. These viewers don't want subtext, they demand text, an on-screen declaration of the nature of this relationship. Which brings up several questions. Well, it certainly seems that the type of relationship some want to see overtly acknowledged is exactly what is going on. What if it isn't? Yuri on Ice also delves into realms of gender and sexual fluidity, particularly surrounding Yuri and how he views himself, as well as a way of describing the mindsets one has to get into to perform, which is a huge part of the show. In order to access Eros to perform, Yuri identifies himself with the maiden seducing a wayward playboy, rather than as the wayward Don Juan traveling from town to town. For some, this moment was an exploration of a shift in people's own perception surrounding gender, and indicated a level of personal comfort to Yuri with his own identity that not everyone ever achieves, even if performance or acting is a huge part of their lives. The show also mentions the potential for girlfriends and female love interests, which for some is simply a layer of subtext to not push the envelope or offend potential censors so that the anime can be aired across the board. But for others, it may be an indication of bisexuality or pansexuality. Yuri on Ice does make an effort to depict many different types of love thematically: familial, camaraderie, sexual, asexual, admiratory, so many, so perhaps the lack of an overt statement is in keeping with that, and also serves as a way for many different types of people to see themselves and identify with the characters and the relationships. So the counterpoint for those who want such an overt statement is others who feel that they know it's there and they simply don't need one. Many feel that if this is what is being depicted, it's a great step. However, others feel that this depiction is unrealistic, and that a couple in such an open relationship would face much more scrutiny and negativity, particularly in a sport such as men's figure skating, which already faces its fair share of ridicule in some circles. However, others note that this is a rom-com, and largely a fantasy, not in the terms of dragons and fairies, but just in terms of people's relationships in an idealized version of the world. It's clearly not going for the most hyper-realistic depiction when it's announced to the world that your skater was inspired by a pork cutlet bowl. Some would argue that Yuri on Ice is presenting a world as people wish it to be, where there is no issue, where sexuality informs but does not define the situation at hand. Instead, the characters' struggles are driven by skating and just their relationships, regardless of orientation or nature. Perhaps in an ideal world, that will make Yuri on Ice stand the test of time better than something going for a depiction that is true to the bigotry and fear that sadly often defines our time. At the time of this recording, at least. Finally, there is fan service. We need to talk about fan service. Anime is a whole different genre with different rules and forms of pandering. So let's briefly talk about yaoi, the Cliff Notes version of course. This is a genre surrounding the love between two male protagonists and is geared largely, almost exclusively, towards a female audience. That's right, the fangirl, or as they are called in Japan specifically surrounding being fans of male-on-male action, fujoshi. For a small number, there is a fear that everyone is reading far too much into this in terms of the political intent, such as the protagonists both hailing from countries with currently stringent LGBTQ laws, etc. Some fear that everyone is being taken in by baiting, fujoshi baiting, putting in scenes deliberately to entice the fangirl, to get her writing fiction, drawing art, and sharing with her friends. This can be viewed as slightly different from queerbaiting given that yaoi is a genre, so Japanese characters have more of a chance of ending up together in that genre. However, However, Yuri on Ice is not defined that way in terms of its genre, and such overt depictions of such relationships are still rare in Japan. So what is the purpose of these scenes? Some point to the show's female writer as proof of Fujoshi influence. However, not only is that not necessarily the case, as she could still be working towards all the aforementioned things fans have assigned to the show, it must also be noted the two could be occurring at the same time. Namely, fan service with a message, trying to draw in viewers with extra provocative scenes, but also making a point. Also, even if no point is being attempted, which is unlikely given how deliberate everything is in animation and indeed any art, also unlikely given this show's particular attention to detail. Even if that were the case, the fact that so much positive can be taken and inferred is truly great. Even if something isn't intended to be inspiring or groundbreaking but ends up achieving it anyway, it can still be a triumph. Sometimes creators' intentions come through, fail, or go in entirely unexpected directions. And still, for some, none of this matters at all. Potential socio-political intent or outcome be damned. They're here to watch some likable characters skate. And if you are a figure skating fan, it must be nice to finally be able to convert some people into seeing not only how cool it is, but how physically demanding. It is 100% a sport. One thing is for certain, for those watching, anticipation is high for season 2, especially given the decisions made by the protagonists at the first season's conclusion. As you can see, there are many differing opinions surrounding this show. What did you guys take away from it? Where do you stand? Share all your thoughts and feelings down below. And don't think I didn't see that South Park reference. This was Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.